ever find the need to connect with somebody in the financing area? Because I'm in an alliance now with something called Corsa, Corsa Finance. And they're always looking for brokers and people, maybe perhaps like yourselves. As I get to learn more, they're doing most business loans.
Yeah, they're all so most businesses in America at least end up going through the SBA, but often bridge lending and alternate forms of financing for people who don't have the full down payment are very, very useful and often a great way for a broker to have one more way of making income, as you know, because they might not end up selling the business to them, but they'll be attached.
Right.
So very much so. It varies between brokers, but as an industry, yes, many of them are open to it because they need to find they need a deal finance.
So I'd like to introduce you to the individual that owns that.
Yeah.
Right now, they're doing primarily business loans, and I wrote a business loan prep program, which basically is, all it is gathering documents, okay, or filling out a personal finance statement, or filling out a very short and quick business, plan,
checklist.
Or
checklist,
yeah, exactly. It's learning to delegate to people and say, okay, have your tax person upload the tax. It's like everybody knows they have all these things. It's just where the hell are they? So it's just really a portal for them. And then at the end, I have a portal that goes directly to Corsa Finance that connects them and says, okay, here's somebody with hopefully 100%, but 90%. I do a review. They do a review. I tell them, go back, because it's probably been 4 to 5 weeks when, you took to get out, do all this stuff, or it probably should have not taken you that long, but, probably did. But that's better than 3 or 4 months, which a lot of people take. And look and see, update things. And then I will do a final review, and I'll start hiring people to do those final reviews. And then it gives you a handoff to somebody that then can find the right loan for you. And so that's where, later in the year, they're going to do construction loans. And then next year, they're going to do mortgages as well. So
that sounds super interesting. And also, we should get like a couple paragraphs down so that way I can send it over to Ron. I think twice a month they have guests talk about specific things. Then, they're the host on the other ones talking about specific. And that would be a great option. Or at least I believe so. But yeah, let's, again, I know I need to book time with you, so I'll bullet point figuring out how we can facilitate that as well.
Yeah, because she's always looking for people, and they're always asking me, do you know anybody? I'm like, okay. And then Anik, I had a very interesting conversation earlier today with a gentleman that is from Intuit, from QuickBooks, about my business and how is it working, and what are things that I don't like and I do like. And of course, I was really honest, so Kel's a breeze, right? And so, I told them, what sucked and what didn't, and all of that. And then he said, well, we have, I said, I don't understand why, especially in products, why you would call, not products, but projects, why you would call a project where nowhere else but in that one section of QuickBooks does it call it a project when it's a sub-customer. It's the same thing, but no one's going to realize that. I mean, I figured it out just as a
it's worse than that. It's so easy to create a sub-customer.
Yes.
And then it doesn't show up on your project list.
Exactly.
Recently, and up until just recently, you couldn't turn a sub-customer into a project. But I recently went, just because you got to go look once in a while, even when the system won't do it, because sometimes they do figure it out.
Right.
And now you do have the option to turn a sub-customer into a project. It is now a thing you can do. So that's a big win. I'm sorry, that wasn't your question.
No, that's okay. So he'd mentioned that, are they people that are actually using the product? And so he said, well, we have this council. And he said, there's bookkeepers and accountants and, a lot of CPAs. And I had to stop him. And I said, I hate to tell you this, but most CPAs don't really know and are not in the weeds in QuickBooks. They know a little bit about how to use it, but they have a bookkeeper that does it for them. They're not doing it. They're just saying, oh, wouldn't it be nice if, but they don't understand that, yeah, but no, that kind of thing.
No, and a lot of it is they're very responsive to any feedback that's given to them. And so they've dumbed down the name of stuff.
Right.
And it's because of all the feedback they get from business owners who are not in the industry. And every once in a while I log in and I'm like, oh, God, that's so stupid. Whatever new name they've decided to change. It's like, God, that's just confusing now.
Exactly. And I explained that, and I told
it's proper accounting terminology because of that.
Right. And see, that's the key, accounting terminology. So I was very honest with him and I said, you know what, my experience has been, and my peers' experience have been, that more times than not, when a bookkeeper comes from your network, their QuickBooks, certification network, they know how to use the product. They're not an accounting person. They're not really a bookkeeper. So they don't know some of these other things. So they make mistakes and do things that your program would never cover, and rightfully so. You're not teaching somebody to be a bookkeeper. You're teaching them to learn your software. I said, so that's really an issue. And then he goes, well, now we're moving into advisory. I get that. Most bookkeepers.
No, it's ridiculous, because now you got people who don't even understand accounting.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
QuickBooks is going to convince them that they can advise business owners. Oh.
And I told him, I said, the only people that should be doing that are seasoned bookkeepers. Not somebody that's new that says, oh, I can charge more money by offering advisory services. Because odds are they're already doing an element of that. But there are different levels of advisory services, and that needs to be clear, that they can't do what I do, And I'm not just saying, oh, I'm so wonderful. It's just that I have that experience and that background, and degrees, so it's not their fault. It's just, one of those things. So there needs to be some sort of program or something that explains what this really is giving them, the information it's really giving them. So at the end, he said, would you consider being on our council?